So now that we're able to move around, being limited to just one screen is probably a little bit annoying. We're not going to have much fun in a modern game when we can only play with what's visible on our screen. So we want to enable a little bit more free movement. And it's actually going to be, well, I'll put in a few objects so we can tell that we're actually moving. We'll throw in a few boxes, okay, just so we know what's going on. Get a reference where everything is. So, we can move around here. And these do have colliders and that kind of stuff, so I can't pass through them or anything. So that's Unity's physics helping us out. Yeah, so we know that we are moving and everything's kind of static. We don't really want to have a small level like that. I want to be able to move around. So to do this, it's going to be done through code. I'm going to create a new C# script, and I'm going to call it follow player. And I'm actually going to put this on my camera. So I'm going to tell the camera to follow the player around. So I'll click on add component. I can already see follow player showing up. Perfect. So we're going to look at a way to do this. And there'll be a few different ways that we can achieve what we want. But I can come in. And the first thing we're going to try and do is we're just going to try and map our transforms together. So I know transformation holds a position, rotation, and scale. So I'm going to grab that. So I'll say transform. And I'll say player transform. So this holds the position, location, position, rotation, scale, and a load of other data and variables for us to use. So in order to do this or find this player, we have two options. We can make this a public variable. It'll show up in Unity, and then we're actually going to drag and drop it in, which is exactly what we're going to do. So if I come back to main camera, and I now come down here, I can see that my follow player now has a little box left open for it that we can drag and drop stuff onto. So if you take your player object and drag it on there, that has now filled in that variable behind the scenes in the code for us. So I've taken my player transform, dropped it on here. It has now assigned it to this variable. And we don't have to do anything in code whatsoever. Now there is a way in Unity that we could have done it, and we're going to do it later, but I could find a game object. So I could say game object dot find game object with tag. And remember, I changed my tag to player earlier, so I would actually be able to find any game object I want with that tag. So Unity will want to find it in the level for us, but we don't need it because we drag and dropped it in over. So we don't need a start method here at all, because this is just going to follow the player around. So if this is the player's transformation, then we can set our transform maybe to be equals to player transform. I probably won't allow that actually, yeah. Sorry, transform.position. And it's probably got a freak here as well. Nope. So what I've done is I've just changed the full position. So I've actually moved the camera to be slap bang in the top of the player. So what we're going to see is I'm going to pop this back out into a three-dimensional view. So this is what our 2D game actually looks like. So our camera is a little bit away from the actual kind of plane where all the action is happening. So when I set the position, the X, the Y, and the Z position to be the UFO, the Z position snaps in. So it's actually, we can't actually see it. It goes blue like that. So I just want the X and Y position from this guy. And we'll see, does it let me do it like this? So I can just take the X and the Y. It does not. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to create a variable. As I said before, I don't want to be creating loads of stuff for every single frame, loads of variables. So I'm just going to create a kind of vector3 here called position. And I'll say position.x. So the position that we're going to be in is going to be the player's X position. I'll copy and paste this then. I'll say, right, we're also going to be in the same Y position as where we are. And I'm going to say, hey, my position.z, you're going to be the same as the actual Z position of the camera. So these two here, we're following the X and Y position of the player, but in our last one here, we're following the Z position of the camera. So where the camera was when the game started up, basically. So the camera never moves on the Z axis, so it doesn't move in or out. It just follows the player left, right, up, and down. I was just about to say, or not at all. And the reason for being, I have never set transform dot position, never updated our position. So if you remember here, I actually just putting this into a variable and not actually doing anything with it. But we do need to assign it to the position of the camera. So I'm just updating the X and the Y of the camera there now. Okay, we should be moving. Bingo. So now we have free movement and we can make extremely large levels if we like. I think we're good to go on our camera movement. Now just to note, there is another way to do this. Sometimes you'll see in Unity people will, I'm going to turn off this script really quick. We'll attach objects together. I suppose the player and the camera, probably not the best. If I attach the camera to the camera would now follow the player around, but it also takes on its transformations as well. So any rotation that's been applied to it has also been applied here. Any sort of scaling would also happen. So not going to work for us. And it also means we have a few more options when we're playing around with our script. Okay, so I'm going to turn my follow player back on. And we are good to go.